Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 8. Today we're watching Deadpool. This is one that I think I have on DVD, but I need to go find because I don't know where it is. Well, that's not true. I need to find it in the spreadsheet and then go physically get it and put back all the other ones that I have out already. It is like 11 p.m. and this is a almost 2-hour movie, so I will be watching it until about 1. I finally got a second wind, and it's either watch this or edit weeks 5 and 6, and I really don't feel like continuing to edit weeks 5 and 6 at the moment. I have been editing all freaking weekend, so I'm gonna start Deadpool. I'm gonna get a snack, and then we're gonna start Deadpool. Deadpool, let's see, probably 3.5 stars for me. I feel like it's one that I loved when it came out, and I like it a little bit less every time I watch it. I think the jokes probably just don't age super well for me, specifically for me. It's not a bad movie though. It's still a good movie. I like the end credit scene that he references the MCU end credit scenes, because at this point Deadpool is 20th Century Fox. He's not owned by Marvel and Disney. He's owned by Marvel and 20th Century Fox. But the MCU is Disney, so he's kind of making fun of Disney and also telling people not to leave their garbage around in a theater, which should be theater etiquette. Anyway, I think I'm going to give Deadpool 4 stars. I don't think I have much to say about it that I haven't already said. Deadpool is an R-rated movie, of course, as we all know, and some of it is just a little bit. Deadpool can be a little bit like a lot for me sometimes. It's not bad, it's just not my taste. I'm not here to judge that, but it's just not my taste. I like the setup of the X-Men because, spoiler alert, they do end up coming into the movie a little bit, like later. Not into this movie, sorry, into the Deadpool franchise later. Some of the X-Men come in later. I just looked up X-Men Apocalypse. I don't think I've ever seen it. It didn't look familiar, and also I don't remember like any of those X-Men, so that'll be fun to watch. But that's it for Deadpool. That's it for day 1 of week 8, and I will see y'all at some point for the next movie. Hello and welcome back to week 8. Today is day 2. It's Monday. I got back from work a little while ago. I've been decompressing and eating, and I am now ready to jump into X-Men Apocalypse. I don't have much to say about this. I think this is one that I have not seen, shockingly. So that'll be fun. There were some people I recognized in the cast when I was looking it up earlier. We don't have it on DVD, so I am streaming it. So yeah, let's watch X-Men Apocalypse. I am about an hour in. I have about an hour left. So people who are in this movie that I recognize without even having to look them up from other movies who were not in previous X-Men movies. Does that make sense? A list of actors. Sophie Turner. Obvious big one. She's literally on the poster. Lana Condor. I don't know how big of a role she'll end up playing, but she was just walking out of a movie theater with Scott Summers, young Scott Summers, and Jean Grey, which is Sophie Turner. And then had to look this up. Just was looking at the cast, really. Apocalypse is played by Oscar Isaac, but you can't tell because he's just wearing a crap ton of makeup, so that's fun. Anyway, so when they were walking out of the movie theater, this is why I turned the camera on. When they were walking out of the movie theater, they're like debating a movie, and Jean just goes, well, at least we can all agree that the third one is the worst, or is never the best, or something along those lines. This is the third one. Also, the third of the original X-Men trilogy had already come out, and she dies in that. That character dies in the third of the original X-Men movies. So, don't know if it's making fun of this movie because it's the third of this like generation of X-Men, or if that's a nod to her getting having to be killed in the third of the original X-Men movies. I laughed nonetheless, no matter which one it was. It was funny. I'm a little confused because Wolverine is here, being held by Stryker. But at the end of the last movie, when he was fished out of the river by Stryker, it was Mystique disguising herself as Stryker. So that math ain't mathin'. Maybe they'll explain it, but I kind of doubt it, and I'm confused by that. I don't understand. I'm really confused. The timelines are already confusing me. The timelines with the X-Men movies make zero sense to me. Days of Future Past, they just decide, let's reset the timeline, is what it seems like. They're just completely resetting the timeline. So now the original movies are either a different timeline, depending on how it works in this to them, or they are an alternate universe. I'm so confused by the timelines. If somebody understands how they work, please explain it to me like I'm 10. Simplest terms you can use. Explain it to me because I don't get the timelines in this at all. Also, because Deadpool is played by Ryan Reynolds in X-Men Origins Wolverine, but then he's Deadpool as we know him in the Deadpool movies. But then Wolverine is in his universe, or like in his timeline, and he has to go to a different timeline to find a different Wolverine after the movie Logan. But there was already a Deadpool in the timeline with a Wolverine that we know. He died, but probably didn't die, but that makes it even worse because it was still played by the same guy and his origin story is completely different as Deadpool. And is it supposed to make sense? Genuinely, if you can explain it without being condescending, please do, because I'm so incredibly confused by this. And I still have an hour of the movie left. Okay, it is 1:15 a.m. and I have finished X-Men Apocalypse. I think I said this at the beginning. I knew that I'd get like a little stir crazy, for lack of a better term, watching all of these movies. And I should have known that that would happen the second I actually got a job. Because, of course, and I work evenings, so of course I'm going to get home at 9:30 and watch a movie that's 2.5 hours long and be a little bit like loopy at the end of it. Of course that's gonna happen. What did I think was gonna happen? Anyway, I finished X-Men Apocalypse, and you know what? It wasn't as bad as I was expecting. I'm thinking a solid 3 stars from me. Was it maybe 2.5? Was it great? No. But I've watched worse since I started watching these. No, 3 is too nice. Even 2.5 is too nice, considering all the freaking plot holes that I'm still confused about. If somebody can give me a really good rundown of the timeline and how everything connects, and I can't poke holes in it, I will increase my rating of this movie. What do I have to say about X-Men Apocalypse? I love Evan Peters as Quicksilver, and I think I said that in which one is he in? Days of Future Past? I think I said that in that one as well. But he's just so good. He's probably my favorite character in this movie, aside from, no, even more so than Charles. Charles is a favorite in Days of Future Past because he has so much depth and the story really focuses on him. This movie is not focused on Charles and his growth, and so I feel okay saying that, yes, I like Quicksilver, Peter Maximoff. They just do so good with the scenes of him running around in slow motion, or everything else is in slow motion and he's going normal speed. So good. To Sweet Dreams Are Made of This, too. And then Magneto being his dad is what made me realize that I have, in fact, seen this before. Because I feel like I remember that plot twist. I've probably only seen it once. I'm not going to mark it as a rewatch when I put it on Letterboxd. But him wanting to find Magneto because Magneto is his dad, and then when they're trying to get Magneto to come with them to fight for them, him and Mystique. And Peter goes, I'm here for my family too. I understand why he didn't want to just blurt out, I'm your son. I think that totally makes sense. But also, like, not Peter, Eric did the wrong thing, absolutely, in this movie and all of them. Ultimately, he seems to do the right thing in the end, but he makes bad decisions getting there. It feels like y'all are gonna hate me for this. It feels like in the High School Musical movies, how Sharpay is like mean for the beginning of every movie, and then she's really nice and like friends with them at the end, and then she just goes back to being mean immediately at the beginning of the next movie for all three of them. That's what this feels like. I don't have anything else to say. So I will check in with you guys when I watch Fantastic Four 2015. Good morning. Welcome to week 8, day 3. There wasn't anything on the calendar for today, but I decided that I think it would be fun before work to watch Fantastic Four 2015 and walk on the walking pad whilst I do it. So, yeah, I don't have a lot to say about this movie except that it is a stellar cast. I think I've said this multiple times at this point, but I love Miles Teller. And Michael B. Jordan is the Human Torch in this, and Kate Mara is the Invisible Woman. So, pretty excited to watch this. I feel like Kate Mara is not somebody that everybody knows. I don't know if she's one of my more niche actors that I like, but she was in Iron Man 2. I want to say she served him legal papers, and I do believe I made a point while I was watching that to film her serving him papers and then me adding her to the spreadsheet of actors who appear in the Marvel movies more than once. Michael B. Jordan will be getting added to that because he's in this, and then isn't he in Black Panther? I'll have to look that up to be 100% sure, but I'm pretty positive that he is in. He's Killmonger? The villain who's like questionably a villain, you know? From what I remember, I haven't watched Black Panther in so long. I'm so excited to watch it again. Anyway, let's watch Fantastic Four 2015, the undeniably worst Fantastic Four movie to date. We have another entry on the actors who appear twice in the Marvel movies list, and it is Tim Blake Nelson. I think he has 3 names. He was just showed on screen for literally a second, and I went, I know him. He plays Samuel Stern in Brave New World. So, Stearns, not Stern, Stearns. So I added him to the spreadsheet. It's not quite as many people as I thought it was going to be, and we are getting really close to the end of like non-MCU movies, and they don't have people cast as multiple people in the MCU unless they're like RDJ as Iron Man and Doctor Doom. So I'm sure I missed people. I'm absolutely sure I've missed people. I'm still looking, obviously, but yeah, maybe I'll see more once I'm watching MCU movies and I go, oh, that person was in something else, but we'll see. But yeah, a new entry, and I'm 30 minutes in. Let's see, do I have any thoughts about Fantastic Four yet? They made this version a little bit like darker and grittier. It's not as light and fun as the 2005 and 2007 movies, and as the 2025. The 2025 movie looks like it's lighter and fun. I still haven't watched it. Also, Ben's like not in this much. He's in it at the beginning, and you see a little bit of his like childhood, like the tiniest little bit, like 2 or 3 minutes. But he has essentially an abusive older brother. Also, Victor Von Doom is like so creepy in this movie. He was kind of creepy in the first movies, but in this one especially, just like not even creepy, scary. He's like scary in these ones. In this one, not these ones. There's only one. They did not make a second one. It did not do well enough for them to make a second one. Yeah, 2015 really was the era of Miles Teller, because he was in this. He was in Divergent, came out in 2014. He was in that. He plays a huge role in that, actually. The Spectacular Now, I want to say, was also 2014. Footloose was a little bit before that. Two Night Stand was somewhere around here. That's one of my favorite movies. Whiplash was 2014, which is one of his best movies, one of his most critically acclaimed movies. It's not my kind of movie. Like, I watched it, it was good. I understand why everybody absolutely adores it. It's just not like, it's stressful, and I don't necessarily, it's stressful, and not in the way that I like, not in the way that like The Martian is stressful. I don't know how to explain it, but that's an objective thing, or a subjective thing, not an objective thing. Objectively, amazing movie. I understand why it's critically acclaimed. Subjectively, not for me. Anyway, yeah, they haven't even gotten their powers yet. I'm just gonna keep watching the movie, and I'm gonna like change and actually get on the walking pad like I said I would. Hello. I'm sorry if you can hear the fan. I'm sweaty. So I apologize if I look gross or if I sound out of breath. I was walking on the treadmill while I was finishing Fantastic Four. So I have finished Fantastic Four 2015. It's not great. It's not a great movie. Here are the things that I like about it. The cast. There were a few cute lines, few, funny little things. I liked Ben and Reed's friendship, but I wish you saw more of how it was built and less just like, I don't know. I wish there was a little bit more on that, because they spent so much time on that, like their friendship and building everything, and so little time on the main conflict of the movie, which is Doom. So that's what I don't like, is that the main conflict, the main fight, the big fight felt so anticlimactic. Like it was just not good. It was not a good fight. Before I start listing everything I didn't like, one more thing that I think I'm just kind of neutral on, it's more just like an observation. It felt more like a sci-fi and less like a superhero movie, and I think that was their goal, so they accomplished that. But most of the movie is spent, like, not most of the movie, I think like a half hour or 45 minutes or something is spent on their childhood, Reed and Ben's childhood. You flash forward 7 years, and then they've built this thing, and then they get recruited, and then Reed goes to New York to work with Dr. Storm and Sue, and Victor and Johnny end up all being there. And so you see that whole thing, and then you see them go drunk. By the way, they get maybe not drunk, but they get like tipsy, maybe drunk, and then go to another dimension. Dumb. For people who are so smart, dumb. And then they get their powers, and you spend a good little while. Well, and before that, they do a lot of talk about like the science of it all. They don't spend enough time on relationships. They kind of tried, but they don't do a good job spending time on relationships. Sue and Reed don't get together in this movie, so I'm not too upset that they didn't spend a ton of time on them. There's like hints that they would probably have get together if there was a second movie, which they totally set up for a second movie, but there was never a second movie made. They definitely like have a connection, but they don't really dive into it. I wish there was more about Ben and Reed, because it would have made Reed leaving them after they get their powers after the accident, it would have made him leaving hurt so much more. It would have meant so much more. It would have been so much more impactful for such a long movie. It's not even that long of a movie, but for how little time they spent on the actual climax and the actual conflict, they did not spend nearly enough time getting us emotionally invested in those characters so that it would hit harder. And because of that, it's just kind of like a movie. And then the fight's not even like a good fight scene. It doesn't have any redeeming qualities. It's fine. Doom's powers make no sense, and they're not explained. I feel like in the 2005 one, different powers. obviously, because he gets them in a completely different way, completely different story. So the powers are a little bit different, it seems. But at least they're explained in that. It's like he can like control metal and electricity. He's like magnetic somehow. I have never really thought too much about his powers, but they make more sense in the 2005 version than they do in this version to me. In this version, it's kind of like just, oh, the planet gave me powers. What does that mean? What kind of powers does that mean? Can he it seems like he can control the whole planet. So did he just like fuse with it? So anyway, yeah, I just was not invested in it at all. I don't think that the main conflict was done well. I didn't like it. Um, it gets bonus points for the acting, for sure. They did their best. Because I like all of the actors that are in it, I will probably give it 2 stars, maybe 1.5. I think 2 stars. I feel like 2 stars is solid. Trying to think about what else I gave 2 stars. I gave the movie I watched yesterday 2 stars, X-Men Apocalypse, and I do feel like this was kind of on par with that, honestly. At least I was a little bit more invested in that, but that wasn't because of that movie, it was because of the movies before it. So, and it definitely had better fight scenes. So, Fantastic Four 2015 is getting 2 stars from me, and then I will see you again when I watch Iron Man 3. Hello. Welcome to week 8. Whoops. It's Saturday, so day 7 of week 8. I am tired. I have a post event hangover, not from alcohol. I don't drink, but from being around people for 10 hours. It was good. It was good. Don't get me wrong. It was a work thing, so I had to go anyway, but there was nothing bad. I am tired and I have a headache. But I got this, which you can kind of see the bottom of, I think. It's just it was one of the centerpieces, and I was among the last people there and nobody took it. So I took it. People took all the other ones. So anyway, today we are watching Iron Man 3. I love this movie. How many times have I said that? Yeah, let's watch the movie. I'm so tired. This is the last movie of the week, though, so that's cool. Alright, so I just finished Iron Man 3. God, my mind just went completely blank. I told you I'm exhausted. So, the reason I like this movie more than like Iron Man 2, which I liked a lot when I rewatched it, but currently can barely remember what happened in it. The reason I like this movie is because of the mental illness representation, but they never talk about it again after this. They never talk about the anxiety, the PTSD, the whatever Tony has, because they don't officially diagnose it. Although it's very clearly panic attacks, just like where they're coming from that we don't know. But I like that. I like the character growth he has to do in this story. But I do think it's weird. So they say he sorts Pepper out. He fixes the Extremis stuff. Which, by the way, if I remember correctly, there's Extremis stuff in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They just never talk about it again. And the next time you see Tony is in Ultron, and Pepper's not in it at all. And then in Captain America Civil War, she has left Tony. They're not together, they're separated. And then in Infinity War, they're back together. And I don't know if that's ever explained fully. I just think it's a little weird that they gave him this movie and then they never talk about anything that happened in it again. Except it does set up that he and Bruce Banner are friends now. Because, I mean, obviously, like, the Avengers also helps set that up, but that they spend time together because the post-credit scene is him telling the story to Bruce. So there's a narration over the whole movie, and what the post-credit scene leaves me to believe is that that was him telling Bruce Banner the story. Bruce falls asleep. But that kind of sets up their friendship, their relationship, whatever. Their friend, it kind of sets up their friendship for Age of Ultron, which is the next movie that we see them both in. So that's all we get in the post-credit scene. We get that, and Tony Stark will return. He also just like magically has suits again, so even though he blew them all up, he has them again for Ultron. I gotta say, this is the storyline that kind of makes the least sense to me. So I think we're meant to just kind of ignore Iron Man 3, and I think that's sad because I think it's a good movie, and I think we should have done more with it. We should have appreciated it more. I'm giving it, I think, 3.5 stars. I did knock Iron Man 2 down to 3.5 stars. I think this will go right above it. That's it for week 8. I have to walk y'all through the data, but I do not feel like doing it at this exact moment, so that will come later. Hello, welcome to the end of week 8. We are here to talk about the stats for week 8. What did I watch this week? Let me remind myself. I watched Deadpool, X-Men Apocalypse, Fantastic Four 2015, and Iron Man 3. Was that really all last week? That was all last week. That's wild. So we are in phase 2. Currently, this is week 2 of phase 2. So we're going to look at my phase 2 stats real quick, and then what the total is at currently with these movies. So phase 2 has 13 movies and 8 seasons of shows. I have watched 38% of the projects and 14% of the 122-hour runtime. I think there's 2 seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., 3 seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., as well as Agent Carter, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Agent Carter Season 2, and Daredevil Season 2. That's a lot of shows. So that's why I've watched almost half the projects, but not even close to half of the runtime. Yeah, so that's where I'm at. 38% of the projects watched, 14% of the runtime is watched. The average rating currently is 3.7 for phase 2. That is 4 3.5s and 1 4.5. Have I only watched? Oh, I didn't put in some of my ratings. Hold on. I didn't put in Fantastic Four or Deadpool or X-Men Apocalypse. So that's going to bring that down. Okay, so actually, my average rating is 3.3. Phase 1, just for a refresher, phase 1 ended with an average rating of 3.3, and phase 0 ended with an average rating of 2.9. I have a feeling that will be the lowest average rating that I get, but we'll see. As far as the total stats go, just as a refresher, there are 79 movies, 47 show seasons, 32,000-ish runtime in minutes, 532-ish runtime in hours. I have watched 28% of those projects and 13% of that runtime. So, cool. And my average rating overall with all of the movies I've watched so far is 3.1. Thank you for tuning in to week 8. Hopefully, I'll see you again for week 9. Week 9, we are watching Thor Dark World, Captain America Winter Soldier, which is currently my favorite Marvel movie of all time, and Guardians of the Galaxy, which is also up there, and dare I say best soundtrack. And I have a lot to say about Winter Soldier. I have so many thoughts about Steve Rogers as a character, and Sam Wilson as a character, and Natasha Romanoff as a character, and Bucky Barnes. But not so much on Winter Soldier. That'll come when we talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier. Not so much Captain America, Winter Soldier, because he's barely a character. You know, he doesn't have agency. He's not his own person yet. That has been week 8. I will see y'all for week 9. Thank you so much for watching. Leave any thoughts, comments, concerns you have in the comments. If you are excited about watching a certain movie, if you're doing a rewatch before Doomsday, let me know which movie or TV show you are most excited to rewatch before Doomsday. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Love you, bye!